Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So, how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back to Hustle and Flow. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and today we are talking about energy, focus, and motivation. I had not planned for this to be the topic for today, but I asked in August. That's when I did my annual survey to my newsletter, and it was such a common theme. It was the topic that people requested in some form or another over and over again. And I thought, we're not going to wait until 2026. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because they are different things, but I do think that they are related. So having energy to show up and do things, having the motivation to continue to keep doing the thing, going after your goals, and also the focus, being able to stay focused on what it is that you are trying to achieve. So let's talk about it. I want to break it down for you. I have ideas, I have tips for all three areas. Okay, number one, let's talk about energy. I feel like I always had what seemed like normal energy to me. And then I had the tumor, the adrenal tumor. And because of the nonstop cortisol that it was producing, I had zero energy. I was exhausted all of the time. I mean, truly, the amount of time, I slept all the time during the day, like the amount of naps that I would have because I was just exhausted. I could not sleep in the middle of the night, but truly just so much fatigue, so much exhaustion. And so after that, when I got healthy again, regaining my energy was really important to me. What's interesting though, is because that was the first time I'd ever really focused on energy. Because I focused on trying to regain it, I actually, as I was experimenting and trying tools, I found that what I thought was normal energy, and maybe it was normal, it was not optimum. I have more energy now than perhaps I ever had, although I think I've always had a decent amount of energy. And I am told that so many of my symptoms and some of the things that I experienced with the adrenal tumor are also going to come my way at some point with perimenopause and menopause. So it'll just be interesting. I want to start by saying that we are all different, and truly experimentation is the key. I say that because after my tumor, when I was trying to, because I think I've shared this on the podcast before, MD Anderson was fabulous in that they were like, we got to get the tumor out and we have to make sure that the other adrenal is working again so that you don't die. And we basically, right, we're just going to keep you from dying. And then after that, they were like, okay, you're good. And I'm like, but I'm not good, right? It had messed up so many things, but they were like, well, our work here is done. So then I was having to work with my general practitioner, my family doctor, whatever you call that. I feel like there's a name that I am not saying. And she obviously was helping with certain issues, but energy is not something that's a huge, you just have to experiment. You got to try. You got to figure out what's going to work for you and just be so dedicated to testing different things to figure it out. So I'm going to share with you today what ended up working for me, how I was able to not only regain my energy, but I think have more energy. This may not be what works for you, but I am also happy to share what ultimately did feel like the right formula for me. Okay. And I got my notes too, because I don't want to miss any of these. They were all important. Number one, community dance and movement. I hate exercise. I have always hated exercise. And I've not been the kind of person who, after exercise is over, feels great. I don't say, oh, well, that was worth it. It's never really felt worth it. Dance for me is exercise. I mean, I'm sweating like a mofo afterwards, but I'm not actually doing it for the exercise. I'm doing it because it's so much fun. I have learned, though, that dancing at home by myself with a video, not fun for me. The community aspect really is important. But when I started dancing again and doing that, 2 to 3 days a week, drastically improved my energy overall. It doesn't help my energy like right after, but overall, and with time, it has vastly improved my energy. Is it because of the physical exercise? Maybe. Or is it because I'm doing something that's fun? I don't know. Which one is it? I don't know. I don't care. But it absolutely has added to my energy. The other thing that added to my energy was playing again, experimenting again, being a beginner again. I started doing stand up comedy. I started painting. And those things, in and of themselves, don't give me energy, but having outlets, they actually do improve my energy because I found personally for me, when I was just focused on work or I didn't have other creative outlets or I wasn't trying other new things that were exciting to me, it was just kind of a lull. So, sometimes we need excitement. And I get excitement might be different than energy, but when you are excited about something in general, right? Like you're excited about a new project or you're excited about learning, for me, it gave me energy in every area of my life. So, do you have hobbies? Are you moving your body? Are you excited about anything new in your life? If not, that's a great way to experiment and find out, could those things help you have more energy? Eating cleaner food helps me have more energy. I have shared several times now that I'm doing the food pyramid, that thing they taught us in kindergarten. I am 45 years old, and it was not until I was 45 that I actually started doing the food pyramid. Even when I was younger, I don't think, I mean, maybe school did it, but at home, like we were never focused on the pyramid. Here's what, for me personally, though, what I was needing in my diet that I did not have. I needed more vegetables and fiber. Like for the most part, I needed way more vegetables and fiber. And having way more vegetables and fiber in my diet, it's helped me lose weight. But I do think it's actually given me more energy. I wasn't doing a scientific study. There were no controls. I don't know what's actually working and not working. I'm just telling you the changes that I made that I think have impacted my energy. Speaking of food, less wine. Y'all know I'm a wino. I love wine. And I often, like, I would have a glass with dinner. Like, that was just part of my routine. And I have really, really, in my experimentation phase, I experimented with it and I stopped drinking for a while just to see what kind of impact it would have. And I couldn't actually tell that it made much of an impact at all. Short term, for I think it was like a month, I was like, I really don't see a difference. Like it wasn't better or worse, it was just neutral, except I was having a harder time going to sleep. There was a negative. I couldn't fall asleep as easily. But as part of trying to lose weight and be healthier, that was one of the things with part of when I was doing the food pyramid and with the Mayo Clinic app. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And so I've really, really cut back. So I have one cheat day a week or cheat meal a week where I eat whatever I want and I'll drink alcohol. But outside of that, I really don't. And again, I don't know if that's the wine or not long term, or if it's just the clean eating because I had tested it before and it didn't really make a difference. So I don't know. Could be part of it. Maybe it has nothing to do with it, but I did change that. The other is red light therapy. It really has made a difference in so many different areas of my life, but I do think it's improved my energy, partly because I think it's actually helped with some of the seasonal depression and where I'm so white. and I've already had melanoma. Like I can't actually get a lot of sun. And so I already take a vitamin D supplement. But by not getting that light, I think that impacts your mood and your energy. And the red light really has helped, I think, with that. I get it's a different kind of light. It doesn't have the UV, and I have not researched that. I don't know if it's the same kind of light or not. I don't care if it's placebo or not. It's working for me. And then vitamins. I have found a few vitamins that have really helped. So I cannot do a multivitamin. Every multivitamin I've ever tried, it really upsets my stomach. But what does work for me, the current combo that I got going, the vitamin D, vitamin C, and vitamin B12. I also take calcium, but I don't think that has anything to do with my energy. But those are the three that I do think that that combo absolutely has helped with my energy overall. So C, D, and B12. Will any of those work for you? I don't know. Try them out. Test. That's all you can really do. But those are the things that have improved my energy. Two, motivation. I feel like these are cousins. They're siblings or cousins. I'm not sure which. But motivation, how do you stay motivated? And this was an interesting question to me because I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever been unmotivated. And so part of that may be my personality. Part of it is I think I give myself permission to do what I want and brings me joy. But I do also think it goes back to a bit of the strategy pyramid and the way I plan as a whole. And if you are not familiar with the strategy pyramid and how I plan as a whole, you can get that download. You can for free. It's a free worksheet. And that is heatherjoyhubbard.com/blueprint. heatherjoyhubbard.com/blueprint. You can get the strategy pyramid. And in addition to more than just that, but you start with your vision. Anytime you are planning for whether it's long-term future, short-term, what is it that you want? What is your vision? And then you build your plans and you stay committed on a daily basis to following through on that vision. So I don't do things that I don't want to do unless I think it's going to support my vision. So ultimately, it is something I want to do because I'm obsessed with results. So I will do things I don't want to do if I think it's going to help me get the results that I want, that's going to help me get to that vision I want. The story I make up in my mind, if you are not motivated, that tells me you're not excited about whatever it is you're working on or whatever you're working towards. That tells me either it's not really your vision, it's a should, like you're trying to accomplish other people's goals. You're trying to accomplish their ideas of success. You're trying to accomplish things that you feel like you should be doing, as opposed to something you actually want to be doing. And if you know the vision, if you know your why, if you are very clear as to every single thing that you're doing, you know how it supports your bigger vision. I just think it's really hard to be unmotivated. This is so maybe there's a disconnect. So if you filled out that survey and you were one of the people who said, like, how do you stay motivated? I need y'all to let me know more specifically if I'm not responding to that particular thing, because truly that tells me, unless I'm misunderstanding the question, you are not aligned with what it is that you are doing. Like you're not excited about it. Either you're not passionate about the thing itself, or you don't see how it's going to ultimately get you to where you want to go. Like maybe that's not even where you want to go. Something's off. You are misaligned. Because if you were aligned and you've got your vision and you know how everything stacks up and you are working towards that vision, you should be motivated. You should be motivated. And I'm not saying as like, if you're not motivated, like you should feel guilty or there's something wrong with you. I'm saying, I think you're working on the wrong project. You've got the wrong goal. It's not aligned with your vision. I truly, 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 truly. Um, I genuinely This is why, I do joy in the journey retreats. I genuinely try to focus on what brings me happiness, what brings me fulfillment, and what brings me success. So if it doesn't bring me joy and it's not leading to the vision that I want, I ain't doing it. So maybe I'm not motivated. Maybe that's the whole point. Maybe it's like I'm not motivated. Therefore, I don't do it. And I don't feel guilty about not doing it. Like I've let that go. I'm not doing it. And sometimes I test things and I think it's going to work out. And then I'm like, I actually don't like this. So I stop doing it. Permission granted to stop doing the things you don't enjoy doing. If we are talking about larger motivation, like how do you stay motivated just in every area of your life? And I think this can actually lead to energy as well. I definitely encourage you, if you don't already know what your motivators are, to take the Values in Action assessment by the University of Pennsylvania. I have talked about it in many podcast episodes. I have a workshop that I've done for many companies and firms and universities, their board of directors, their leadership on mastering motivation for yourself and your teams. And a lot of that is figuring out what motivates you, what brings you joy. And so for me, my top values in action motivators: humor, creativity, perspective, fairness, social justice, and emotional intelligence. When I show up with those things, I am happier in general. Like I just have more motivation in general. And some of those came natural to me even when I was a practicing lawyer, like the social intelligence, the social justice, the fairness. Like I just show up naturally in those ways. The creativity and the humor, those are my top two. I was not practicing those on a daily basis. And I really had to start leaning into that. No matter what I do, no matter what room I am in, no matter whether this is a professional endeavor, an entrepreneurial endeavor, a personal endeavor. And I was doing this in the law firm, and it definitely made a huge difference. If I was not getting to be creative and think outside the box, if I was not having fun and laughing and just being myself, I wasn't going to stay motivated because I wasn't being authentic to me. And so, if you're not familiar with what your values in action are, if you don't know what those natural motivators are, that's a great, and it's free assessment to find out what are those things that really motivate you in every area of your life in order to show up who you are. That too can make a difference. All right. Last but not least, focus. How do you stay focused? Now, the questions that I received, it related to how do you stay focused on your goals. It was not like how do you stay focused on a task. But I still want to put out a disclaimer. I do not have an ADHD bone in my body. Truly, I don't. And so if you do, right? If you do struggle with that, just know that what I'm sharing, it may it may help you. It can impact you, I think. But if you have something neurological that is like different than the way I'm wired, also accepting, like having a bit of surrender in what you can and can't do, and then also working with healthcare providers to help you. Um, Maybe there's a medication, maybe there's another tool. I will tell you, when I had the adrenal tumor, and I was not myself. I did not have the same ability to focus. I didn't have the same memory, right? Like I didn't have ADHD. But my point is, I do remember how it really, like, my brain was not operating the way that I expected or wanted it to. So if you have any kind of neurological issue, then just know that is a thing. It is real. And having support around that and understanding it, like that takes priority. Okay, with that caveat, I will now share My thoughts on focus. When we're talking about goals or any other project, how do you remain focused on seeing it through? I think part of that is leading to the question of perhaps energy and motivation, and that it's suggesting that you don't always want to follow through. I think that's what that is suggesting. And if that's the case, then I think there are a few things that might be at play. One could again go back to what I said with motivation. It could be you're not clear on your vision, or you think you're clear on your vision, but you're actually not. You're doing more of what you think you should be doing, as opposed to giving yourself permission to truly want whatever it is that you want. And so, as you were trying to work towards the goals, the projects, the tasks that support that, there's probably a lot of internal resistance because you don't actually want it. And so it might be subconscious, but you're probably showing up in a way where you don't really want to follow through. The other is it could be that you are in such a habit and a pattern of putting yourself and your priorities last, such that you are waiting for there to be a time to do what's important to you. And you can't do that because there will absolutely never be time. You'll be like, well, once I get through this period, then I'll have time. No, you won't. No, you won't. How often does that actually happen? Generally doesn't. And I didn't really have downtime in COVID, but for those who did, they all said, I thought I was going to get, like I've always said, if I had time, I'd get things done. Turns out that was a lie. Not true. We either don't want to do it to begin with, or we have a lot of like just mind drama, a lot of junk around it. So examples of like the mind drama and the junk would be you think it's going to be hard, and maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. You think that it's overwhelming. You think that it's going to perhaps lead you to have to do other things. Maybe you're worried about success. I did an episode a long time ago about there's the fear of failure and there's the fear of success. Like, this is what I'm talking about, the mind drama. Like, there's some reason why you're not actually showing up to do the thing. I have always been so focused and committed to my vision and my goals that the concept of not following through just is not, it's not like, it's just not, that's not a thing for me. So that's part of why I was saying I don't have an ADHD bone in my body. I do think it's important for you to know that maybe in some ways, like, I am just like, this is who I am. It's how I'm wired. I put this on Instagram not too long ago. For those of you who know much about astrology, I am a Capricorn sun and I have a Virgo stellium. That should tell you all you need to know. Capricorns are like, we're very ambitious, we're very goal oriented, like we're goats, we climb mountains, we do the thing, we accomplish things. And then Virgo, having all kinds of, I have like all kinds of planets in Virgo. Virgo is all about structure and doing the like, it's like systems. It's the perfectionist. So I have the big vision, like that's part of my personality. And then I have this stellium of like actually ticking boxes and following through. So I don't know, astrologically, that's just how I'm wired. So I can tell you what I do and I can tell you about my mindset, but I do think it's important for you to know I'm not always using tips or tricks or certain things like I'm just being me. That said, if you've got too many areas of focus, if you've got too many goals, yeah, you're going to have a hard time focusing on them. So that's one thing I do is I only focus on like three main things at a time. That's all I'm trying to focus on because I know my limits and my capabilities. And I also know just from a strategy perspective, you can't do all the things. And so I do focus myself by doing that, by saying I can only focus on three things and truly moving the ball forward. It doesn't mean I can't like dabble with other things, but I have a true focus. That's part of the plan. So that is one tool. The other thing that I do is I chunk things down. So if you've ever done any of my planning, and I've got episodes on this as well, I'll put it all in the show notes. When I'm working on a plan, I genuinely believe you need to be using this strategy pyramid. Go grab it. Go grab it. heatherjoyhubbard.com/blueprint. It is free. When you have your projects and you have your tasks, they need to be separate things. If you have just a goal or a project listed, but you don't have each and every tiny task already outlined under it, it feels overwhelming. And when I feel overwhelmed, I feel like it's going to be hard or I don't even know where to begin. Yeah, I'm not going to focus. I'm going to put it off. I'm going to avoid it, which is why part of my strategy with reaching any goal or doing anything or accomplishing it or following through is I have those tasks. So it no longer feels overwhelming. No one task feels overwhelming. I may not want to do a task, but I know what it is. So that goes to, for me, the only time that I have lack of focus really is when I just genuinely don't like to do it. And I know I said earlier, like, I don't make myself do things I don't want to do. Well, sometimes like you just gotta be a human and do things. and and sometimes if it's gonna get the result I want, I'll do it. So like, when you move and you got to get your electric done, like I don't want to call and get all that set up, but I do want electricity at my house, right? So those are the things that sure enough I'll put off. But one of the tips or strategies I use is I let a lot of those little bitty admin things that would take probably 10 minutes. I actually let them build up, and then I will take a morning and I set a timer, and it's like I've got 60 minutes or 90 minutes and I knock out as many as I can. And I generally can get like everything done. And it's just one of those like, just eat the frog, you just do it. And then I always try to have something at the end of that, like really fun to do. So it's like, if I can get through this, I only have to do the timer, then I get to work on a project that I'm really, really excited about. So that's a tool that might help you. When I am afraid, when I am a perfectionist or all kinds of other things, like I generally just don't make it a goal. I think I've said for a long time, I've been saying forever, like I'm writing a book. I've got like the book jackets, the book covers. I'll tell people I'm writing the book. But the truth is, I've never prioritized it. Like I didn't actually do the plan. Like it just never ends up in the plan. Like I say I'm going to do it, but I just wouldn't do it. And then once I got serious about like, no, I'm actually going to do it. But the reasons before were, I just wasn't truly committed. I liked the idea of it. That was it. That was it. Like I wasn't ready to actually do it. It's kind of like when we talk about, oh, I want to be healthier, I want to lose weight. If you're not fully committed, it means you like the idea of it, but you're not yet ready to actually do what it takes to get the results. And in those situations, I always encourage people to just let it go. It doesn't mean it goes away forever, but you can put it to the side because if you try to focus on those things when you're not really ready, well, one, you won't do it. It's going to show up on your to-do list constantly. You're always going to put it off and then you're going to beat yourself up and you're going to feel bad about it. So like, just go ahead and give yourself permission to put it on the side and say, we're not going to actually focus on that right now. So, that's been going on forever with that book. And then finally, when I was ready, I came up with a plan and I've been super focused and I've been following through. So sometimes you just got to let shit go. You just got to say, you know what? I like the idea of it, but I'm not yet ready to do what it takes to get the results. So I'm going to choose not to focus on it. Okay, that's it. That's what I've got. Hopefully that's been helpful. Regardless of whether or not you were someone who submitted that in the survey, if you're listening and you have follow-up questions related to energy, focus, motivation, leave it in the comments. If you're watching YouTube, like you're already there, just leave a comment for me. If you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can always, even if you don't like to watch, that's cool. I don't really care how you consume the podcast. You can always go over to YouTube and leave a comment, and that still allows me to have the opportunity to follow up. So I can answer your question in the comments, or it might inspire another episode. So thanks so much for submitting those questions and letting me know that that was a big issue for a lot of you all. And hopefully this has helped, and keep those ideas coming in. I always have certain topics that I love to talk about and I want to address, but it's so helpful when you all tell me exactly what you want to hear. So keep letting me know. Have a great week, and I'll be back next Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.